Today we are going to talk about AWS Cache and relational databases. We will first talk about AWS Elastic Cache Service, and then we will look into AWS Relational Database Service, and at last we will learn how to launch AWS Elastic Cache cluster and relational databases into VPC into a private subnet group. So what is AWS Elastic Cache? AWS Elastic Cache is a fully managed in-memory data cache service. It is very fast, it has very low latency, and it supports popular open source compatible Redis and Memcached in-memory data caches in the cloud. It helps us to improve performance of web applications hosted in cloud by providing fast in-memory caches for frequently used data like session tokens, security questions, etc. If we talk about benefits of AWS Elastic Cache, it gives us high performance, its API calls take some millisecond response times, and it runs on dedicated nodes. It is fully managed by AWS. We don't have to worry about management tasks such as hardware provisioning, software patching, setup, configuration, monitoring, failure recovery, etc. It is scalable. We don't have to worry about scalability of the cache storage. It can scale out, scale in, scale up to meet the application demands. AWS Elastic Cache supports two types of engines. One is Redis and another is Memcached. Implementation of both of these engines is based on their open source versions, and you can easily migrate your Redis based applications or Memcached based applications to cloud without any code changes. Redis is highly available and reliable as it supports auto failover for primary node failures by using replicas with minimal impact. And if we talk about Memcached, it supports auto discovery, which means client is always updated with the newest set of nodes in case of addition or deletion of new nodes. Now the question is when to choose Redis or when to choose Memcached based cache storage. If your application demands simple caching of data, you can choose either Redis or Memcached based cache storage. If your application demands publisher or subscriber capabilities, you have to choose Redis based cache storage. If you want multi-AZ support, then you have to go with Redis based cache storage in AWS. And if you want backup and restore capabilities, you can go with Redis based cache storage. And if you want to store advanced data types like lists, sets or maps, you have to go with Redis based cache storage. Let's talk about AWS Relational Database Service. AWS RDS helps us to set up, operate and scale a relational database in the cloud. Relational databases like MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, AWS Aurora, PostgreSQL, etc. It is very cost efficient and resizable database storage. It is highly available and it can be launched in multiple availability. It gives us high performance as it supports replicas, and it provides multiple instance types to support wide range of applications with single, dual or multi-core CPU. If we talk about benefits, it gives us high performance, it is backed with SSD, and many Amazon RDS engine type supports read replicas to offload read traffic from primary database instance. So we can create replicas of our primary instance and we can offload our primary database instance. It is fully managed by AWS. We don't have to worry about management tasks such as hardware provisioning, software patching, setup, configuration, monitoring, etc. Also, we don't have to worry for installing or maintaining any database softwares while using AWS RDS. It is very secured. RDS allows us to launch private database instances into virtual private cloud, AWS VPC, and many Amazon RDS engine types offers encryption at rest and encryption in transit. So we can enable encryption at rest, and while using API, we can enable encryption in transit to secure our data. And these are the databases which we can launch using AWS RDS service. So we have Amazon Aurora, PostgreSQL, then we have MariaDB, we have MySQL, we have Microsoft SQL Server, and we have Oracle. Now let's go to CloudFormation script and learn how to launch RDS and Elastic Cache into a virtual private cloud. So guys, this is our CloudFormation script. In the previous video we learned how to create a VPC, how to create public and private subnets, how to create public and private route tables, net gateways, internet gateways. And we had also launched one EC2 in public subnet and one EC2 in private subnet. And today we will see how to launch Elastic Cache cluster and RDS into a private subnet group, into a VPC. So to create a RDS DB instance, we have to add a new resource of type AWS RDS DB instance. And under properties, we have to provide DB instance identifier, which is a unique identifier, and we can take this from a CloudFormation parameter. Likewise, we have a DB name we have to provide, and we are taking from the CloudFormation parameter. We have DB instance class, then we have DB subnet group, and we have defined this DB subnet group in this script only. So you can see I have created a DB subnet group, and under subnet IDs I have mentioned private subnet 1 and private subnet 2. So this DB subnet group will be created using the two private subnets, and our DB instance will be launched in either of the private subnets. And next we have VPC security groups, and under VPC security groups we have to mention a security group which will be associated with this RDS DB instance, and this security group is also created in the same script. So you can see in this security group, in the inbound access I have provided TCP 3306 from private EC2 security group. So by mentioning private security group here, we are allowing the EC2 instance from private security group or private subnet to access our DB instance. And next we have allocated storage. This is the storage that we want for our database instance. And after that we have to mention engine. In the engine we can mention the different types of databases that are available in RDS service. So I have mentioned MySQL because I want to launch MySQL database. Now in the engine version you can mention the respective version that you want, and after that you have to provide your master username and master user password. Similarly, we have to create Elastic Cache security group and Elastic Cache subnet group that we can use while creating the Elastic Cache cluster. So you can see I have created a Elastic Cache cluster resource, and under engine I am mentioning memcached. We can also use Redis if you want to launch Redis cache cluster. Next we have cache node type, and I have mentioned cache T2 micro, that is under free tier. Then we have number of cache nodes, cache subnet group, and VPC security group IDs. So cache subnet group and Elastic Cache security group again we have created in this script only. And under security group, under inbound address, I have provided security group ID from private EC2 security group, and this will allow us to access memcached from our EC2 instance, which is launched under private subnet. Now let's go to AWS console and run this CloudFormation script. I have logged into my AWS console. Now let's go to CloudFormation and run our CloudFormation script. Let's go to stacks. I don't have any stacks right now. Let's create a new stack now. And let's upload our template. So here is our CloudFormation script. Okay, it is uploaded to some S3. And now we can click on next. So we can name it the Nike, and here you can see all the parameters which we have in our CloudFormation script, like DB allocation, storage, DB instance class, T2 micro, DB instance ID. These are all default parameters, values that we have provided in the script. We can also update if you want to. Now we can provide password and username for our database instance, and we can name this as a demo environment. And for SSH purpose, we can select the existing key pair. I have next project name, giving the same, and all these are default values that we have provided in our CloudFormation script, like public subnet CIDR, public subnet to CIDR, SSH location, VPC CIDR. Let's click on next. These are some more tags that you can provide here, and some other advanced options. I'm not providing anything, any rollback configuration, nothing. Let's go to next, and here it will show you all the details of the resources and parameters that we are going to create using this template. Now let's acknowledge this and click on create a stack. So you can see now stack creation is in progress, and in the resource we can see what and all is getting created now. So you can see VPC create in progress, root role create in progress, internet gateway, and in the events you can see all the events that are happening because of this CloudFormation script. Now let's wait to create all the resources, and once it is done we can log into our jump host EC2, which is in public subnet, and from there we can SSH into our private subnet EC2 instance, and from our private EC2 instance we can check our DB instance connectivity as well as ElastiCache instance connectivity. It took around 7 to 8 minutes to create all the resources. Now let's go to EC2 and log into our public EC2 instance, that is jump host instance. Let's go to instances, and you can see there are 2 instances which has been launched. You can see there are 2 instances which have been launched using this CloudFormation script, and this is our jump host instance. Let's get the IP of this. So this private IP, and we need our public IP address. Let's go to WinSCP and SSH into this instance. So we'll be needing private key. Let's log in. So now I have logged into my public instance, that is jump host EC2 instance. Now we will use the same key pair to log into our private EC2 instance from our public EC2 instance. So now let's create a session. So right now I am in my public EC2 instance. Let's update this first. It will take some time to update the EC2 instance. Meanwhile, we can go to AWS console again and get the IP of our private EC2 instance. So you can see for private EC2 instance there is no public IP address, and to connect we can use SSH client, and we can use this command SSH, and we can use the key pair, and from public EC2 instance we can SSH into our private EC2 instance. Okay, and here we are seeing one permissions related error for our PEM file, and it is saying that we have to keep this as a private. We are not supposed to keep it as a read to all. Okay, So we'll have to update the permissions for this file. There should be chmod. Okay, now we have updated the permissions of this file. Now let's try it again. Okay, and now you can see we have logged into our private EC2 instance, that is 10.03.99. You can cross check this IP here as well as EC2 dashboard. So on EC2 dashboard we can see the private IP is 10.03.99. Now we are in our private EC2 instance and it is saying again to update the EC2 instance. So let's update this one as well. So it will again take some time. Now let's install MySQL client on our EC2 instance to check the connectivity with our DB instance. So I am using sudo yum install MySQL 57 and you have to select Y. So we have got MySQL client on our EC2 instance now, and we can use MySQL commands to check connectivity with our DB instance. Let's go to AWS console again and get the host of our database instance that we have launched using CloudFormation script. You can see in our RDS dashboard, we can see the endpoint of our database. Let's copy this host name and go back to EC2 instance. Now we can use the MySQL command. So MySQL and with host, I'm mentioning the newly created DB instance host, and now for port I'm using that is default 3306, and for username I'm providing the username that I had provided, and for password let it ask it now. So again you can see we have logged into our MySQL instance and we can fire MySQL commands now. So I am saying show databases. You can see we are able to connect to newly created database instance from our private EC2 instance. So let's exit from MySQL. Now let's go to AWS console again and check our memcached instance details. So you can see it has launched one memcached instance and you can see the configuration endpoint is here. So we can copy this configuration endpoint and we can use this to check the connectivity from our private EC2 instance. So here I am again, and to check the connectivity with Elasticache we will be needing Telnet client. So let's install Telnet client. Yes, once it is installed we can use Telnet command with the host and the port that is 11211 default. Now you can see we are connected to our memcached instance here. So guys, today we learned about AWS Elasticache and AWS RDS and how to launch this into private subnet of a VPC. In the next videos we will learn about developer services like code commit, code build, code deploy and AWS X-Ray. Thank you for watching this video. Please join me in the next video.